Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. This is a special Sunday show. I thought you guys might enjoy this. Typically on the weekends, I'll do re-uploads, but this one's going to be live today, and I just couldn't wait till Monday to present this information. I wanted to, first of all, give a special shout out to David. Thanks, David. David and I went out on the lake yesterday, and we didn't catch much, but we had a great time of fellowship out on Bull Shoals Lake. I also got to ride on a ferry, which I hadn't done before, and it was a lot of fun. There's a little free ferry that goes right across the lake to where we were fishing at, and we spent the better part of the morning just cruising around and in good fellowship and trying our best to catch a fish. But I think with the heat picking up the way it has, the fish go really deep, and unless you know exactly where they're at, you're not going to catch them. So thanks again, David. That was a lot of fun. He's not far from me, so I'm sure we'll get together again soon. And maybe smallmouth fish or something. If you go up in those creeks, you can get into those smallmouth bass. Now, what else is going on here? Well, my son is getting homesick, I think, so he got some tickets to California. He's going to go spend some time with his friends. But as you guys know, I roll solo. I've rolled solo before, and so I'll be just fine, immersed in the woods and nature and everything else that the Ozarks have to offer here. So I'm very pleased that he's going to get to go see his friends and his sister and his family back there in California. So what else is going on? Let's say good morning to you guys in the chat here. Appreciate you guys showing up. There's Isaac and La Tourist Viva, Birdie, Going Unite, T. Kerr, Ain't Buying It. Thanks everybody for showing up this morning. Now, why are we doing this special show today? Well, one of you guys made me aware of this 2019 Time cover. Let's see if the person who showed that to me is in the chat today. I think I saw them in the chat. Yes, Genesis Revelation. Thanks, Genesis Revelation, for reminding me about this cover. Now, I don't remember this cover particularly, but apparently this cover is loaded with esoteric symbolism. Now, you have to go back in time, ironically, right, with this kind of thing, and really see this for what it is within the context of VidCo19 and the spam-demic. This was long before any grumblings, any news, or anything of the spam-demic. That didn't happen until late 2019, almost into 2020. And so there's something about this cover that we're going to cover today. Thump under the umbrella, singing in the rain. Now, what makes this cover interesting is that we had just covered Singing in the Rain. Or did we cover it or did we not? One of you sent me, a clip from Singing in the Rain. Was it Gene Kelly or whatever? And he was dancing in front of the drugstore, wasn't he? And we had figured out that this tip of the umbrella is actually named after a part of a hypodermic needle called a ferrule. And then through lots and lots of research, we discovered that this tip of the umbrella was actually used to inject people. One guy got poisoned with the tip of the umbrella. We also saw that same thing happen in a series that just came out. Was it a series or a movie? I can't remember. I get so confused sometimes. Where the woman was incapacitated with the tip of an umbrella. And the reason why they depict it that way is because the umbrella really is a hypodermic needle. That's what it is. That's the symbolism behind it. Now, let's delve into this cover. Because when we think about foreshadowing of things that haven't happened yet, this image tells the story, doesn't it? Because the umbrella syringe and the ferrule tip points to the letter M, which are the fangs of the serpent. Now, Thump's signature has signature fangs, doesn't it? We took this signature, which is sharpened over time, His original signature was much more rounded. And then over time, as he began to emerge into the presidency, you can look all this up yourself. I'm not going to belabor the details of it. But it was very noticeable that his fangs began to sharpen as he came into the presidency. Now, if you think this whole video is going to be an attack on just Thump, it is not, because we're going to get into Bo Jivin at the end of this show as well, because they're all complicit. But over time, Thump's fangs have sharpened, and I think we all know in preparation for what. So you get this bizarre spiritual manifestation of this letter M being the sharpened fangs, kind of lining up with his signature. I should have probably done an overlay of the signature, but it's very obvious that this is what is happening here. Zoom this up for you guys. You can see this. Now, the snake has been revealed, hasn't it? Now let's keep digging into this image, because there's even more going on here. The umbrella ferrule. Let me show you some images of this. You know, I'm not making this up. Here is the ferrule tip, long established as the name of the part that pokes out of the tip. And here is the syringe. This is actually a specific syringe called the Hamilton syringe. And here you see the ferrule part of the syringe. Now, what else do we have here? Now, some of you are probably thinking, Casey, Ferrule sounds like Pharaoh. Well, it's because it does. Pharaohs are the leaders of this world. And this is why you have Pharisees. They were of the pharaonic bloodline, ruling over God's people, imprisoning them, overworking them, whatever, you name it. This is what they were doing. Now, let's break down this word a little bit further, because I promised you guys new information today as it relates to this bizarre matrix and what all this stuff really means and how it all connects together. Now, the word ferrule, as you can see here, the word F-E-R-R, has its roots in the word iron. Of course, ferrous is iron. That's the word for iron in the periodic table. And more specifically, the word or the prefix F-E-R-R can mean to deliver something, like a ferry. Don't you think it's interesting that I was on a ferry yesterday and all of a sudden this stuff has been revealed? God's pretty amazing, isn't he? Like, we actually live out these revelations and they apply directly to our lives, and it's basically reinforcement to know that we're on the right track. A ferry is called a ferry because it delivers something. It injects something from one side to the other, usually through water. And even a fairy, like a magical fairy, usually comes with a message or delivering something, don't they? And this begs the question of all kinds of other things, like a prophet, which has the PH sound in it as well. It makes you wonder, because they deliver God's word, don't they? But the devil always has an evil counterfeit. In this case, delivering something into your body. The smack the nation. Now, as many of you know, rain is associated with disease. And remember, Apollo brings a disease and he cures it as a type of extortion for people to follow him, doesn't he? And this is the TV series called The Rain. in which a disease wipes out humanity. Now, this just aired probably like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. Very popular Netflix show. And in this series, it was all about this rain that spread a black goo that altered the DNA of this boy. Here you can see it. A black gooey smoke consumes his body, alters his DNA to where his sister does not recognize him. Now your mind's beginning to turn, because now you're seeing what seeing in the rain is probably really all about. Ferrules, needles, rain, which is plague or sickness and disease, all foreshadowed on this time cover 6 months before the first case of CV-19 and the spam-demic. Picture's worth 1,000 words, isn't it? Now, I'm going to drive it all home for you. For those that are still in doubt. This is the word Ferrule, as we just defined for you this morning. And look at this. The official definition talks about a ring. A ring. What is a ring? A ring is a corona. And the word was originally French and Latin. Here are the words here on your screen. Ferrule has its roots in the French word virel and variola. So, Ferrule should really say virule. Again, the top of the umbrella and the ring of the needle. Now, how is that for foreshadowing? Well, we all know that all of this was scripted out long beforehand. None of this happened by accident. It was all foreshadowed and planned. And all the players were in place to make it happen. The rain has come. The rain has come. Now, we are starting to approach kind of the tail end of all this as it has manifested out in our reality, but the damage has already been done. But you have to ask yourself, where is all this headed? What is the future of all this? Why did it happen? Why were they working so hard to inject us? Well, we all know that there is some kind of side effect on the nervous system, don't we? And they've done their best to, muddy the waters about what is the exact cause of this nervous system reaction. They're trying to mostly blame it on CV-19, but then they're admitting to a certain degree that some of it could have been caused by the smack of the nation in select individuals, right? But now that the waters are all muddied and nobody knows here from there, start to finish, it's just gotten really confusing for most people, not for us. We know what's doing what. But you have to ask yourself, are they preparing us for something? Was this all a preparation ritual for something down the line? Now, Friday, I uploaded a 2020 video that we did from 2020, and we were talking about Jive G and how copper core coins were being pulled out of circulation to source the Jive G base stations. And that video will go down in history because God revealed to us that the enemy wants copper, and that our system of circulated money, the coins at least, were basically a large bank to store all this copper until the end times, so that the enemy could build his Faraday cage all around us and begin to tighten the noose or tighten the serpent around humanity with the surveillance state, real-time policing, cameras everywhere, all connected by the copper serpent slithering his way, the Nakash, the Nakosheth, slithering his way in and around humanity as we are unawares, tightening, constricting. Are you awake yet? Is it starting to make sense? Well, look at this. Now, somebody sent me this. Can't remember who, but they sent this to me. And just in the nick of time for the show. And it fits right into everything we're talking about. How humans will interface with technology. 6G. And they're saying that it will be through the nervous system. So it's kind of hard to dismiss these central nervous system side effects, isn't it? Because it certainly feels to me like it's some kind of segue into the 6G wireless technology. They're actually saying here in this article that we won't have cell phones anymore. That everything will be interfaced through chips. Let's read here about what the future holds for 6G in this Prime Business article. Let me make sure you guys are with me. We'll keep going. We'll do a little Q&A after this, so save your questions. I'm glad everyone could make it today. Sometimes the weekend shows are better for those of you that work the 9 to 5. So, all right, let's keep going here. Oh my goodness. Nokia CEO says humans to be implanted with 6G chips. Now, we were also talking about Elon Musk, and I'm shocked that some people still try to defend him. You're going to hear why in a minute here. The chief executive officer of Nokia has disclosed smart gadgets will be implanted into human bodies in the next 8 years, as technological innovation will evolve into the 6th generation network, 6G. Now, Gilly Bates likes to mock us and say, oh, those people think that there's a chip in the smack of the nation. Well, there probably isn't. But that doesn't mean it's a segue or some kind of connectivity segue into all of this. This is why you got to be careful with the truth community and, what you believe or what you stand by as, oh, this is matter of fact, this is that or that's that. Because there are a lot of information, people out there that will try to steer you the wrong direction. And then you'll be mocked and then nobody will believe you. You'll be the person that cried wolf. But I can tell you that this nervous system, this effect that this has on the nervous system has to be directly related into the future of how they're going to interface us with the 6G technology. So he says by 2030, the 6G network will replace Jive G wireless connection, which is currently being adopted across the world and planned for the Nigerian market in the second half of 2022. He projected 6G, which is currently under development, will make smartphones irrelevant upon completion. Can you imagine a world where we don't have phones anymore? The enemy will be right inside of your body, inside of your brain. And of course, they're at the World Economic Forum. His statement comes amid the project of world's richest man, Elon Musk, which seeks to implant chips into the human brain to create a computer-like visual interface. So it'll go in right through your eyes. You'll see your whole phone screen through your eyes instead of in your hand. They're using this monkey. Now, this is a blue monkey. It's called a blue crab monkey. Fits right into this serpent seed, doesn't it? The blue blood, the blue crab, the copper-based organism. Now, they call these macaque monkeys, they call them blue crab monkeys because that is their diet. This is all they eat. So imagine the copper content inside of that monkey. And this is why they're probably pushing this and experimenting with this particular monkey, because it's already hardwired. But these copper blue crabs, hemocyanin based crabs, and that's what they intend to do with us. Hardwire us right into the matrix. Let's keep reading here. In a video shared by the billionaire, the animal, which had been implanted with a chip, was seen playing mind pong. Now think of the implications of this, mind pong. We already know about comets, and we already know about ping pong, and we already know what this is code for. Climbing right into your brain. So, moving its hands with thoughts. After being trained to move the joystick, it was gathered the most common interface will no longer be smartphones, as user behavior will change with the advent of 6G. He explained that smart glasses and other technology-driven devices will receive preference. So, if you don't want it hardwired right into your sight, they'll just put some glasses on. Be right inside of your sunglasses. By then, the smartphone as we know it today will not be the most common interface. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies. Not for me. Not me. Not doing it. So, this is the future. Now, if you think I'm just ringing the alarm bell and all this means nothing, look what happened to Justin Bieber. Now, they run these stories. They already know what's going on. They know why people are having these nervous system syndromes. They know why. This guy can't even blink his eye. He's got palsy of the face. Bieber shared a scary health update on Friday after postponing dates of his world tour earlier this week. In an Instagram video, Bieber revealed that half of his face was paralyzed. He'd been diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, or a virus that affects nerves in the face and ear. As you can see, his eye is not blinking. I can't smile on the side of my face. This nostril will not move. So there's full paralysis in the side of my face. Now, I'm not going to play the sound here. But remember way back in 2012, when this channel first started, and Justin Bieber was sitting next to one of his friends, and he started talking about whirling dervish, which of course is from iPet Go 2, the whirling dervish child. Let's take a look at this here. So here's Mr. Bieber. Look at this. What the heck? He can't even blink his eye. Look at. He can't. He tries to smile. He's only smiling with one side of his face. So here's what they do. Here's what's going on here. Since these people are the puppets, they're on the puppet strings, but then they have millions of followers that are on their puppet strings. So the left brain is controlling your right side of your body and vice versa. So really what's being affected here, let's see if I can do a reverse here. That's his left eye. So his right brain, he can't move his right eye. So his left brain is being affected here. Okay. His left brain is what's not working correctly. This side over here. It's amazing he can even move his eyes. So, very bizarre, isn't it? Now, again, think back in the timeline. Nobody was talking about these things. No movie stars were reporting that this was happening to them. And now all of a sudden we have multiple movie stars talking about this palsy syndrome. But yet, no connection is made to Vidka or the Smack the Nation. They're just saying it's a random thing that's happening to these people. And it's simply not. It's simply not. So, strange times we're living in, isn't it? The nervous system is now the focus. Now, we are at the precipice now of the cancer cure I am legend scenario. They are now saying that they have basically used immunotherapy drugs, which fits right into the immune system, right, to cure cancer. This is the second story I've covered on this in the past month or two about them claiming that they have a cure for cancer, which is exactly what was claimed in the film I Am Legend by Dr. Crippen. And shortly following that was the zombie apocalypse. Wasn't it? Which was a nervous system issue. The hair would fall out. They would go bald. It was kind of like a rabies type of scenario. And it seems like that's starting to happen right now. Now, as things appear to start being, going back to normal, the damage has already been done. The snake has already sunk its fangs into pretty much half of all of humanity, which, if you think about the feat of how that happened, it's unprecedented in human history. That half of the world's population could have received something like this. I don't think it's ever been done before, but notice how they downplay it. They don't say, oh, wow, this is the first time in human history that we've been able to, smack the Nate half of the world. We're talking billions of people. How many people got this? 5 billion maybe? 4 billion? Unprecedented. A lot of money and time was brought to bear to make this happen. These things don't just happen overnight. Now, meanwhile, weird tick-borne illnesses are taking hold. Again, these affect the nervous system. People can't walk. Here's one case in Connecticut. A woman dies from rare tick-borne virus in the second fatality this year. This isn't just Lyme disease anymore. It's a host of other fatal and debilitating diseases. Incurable, and these are starting to pepper the planet. Now, it's not that a lot of people are dying from this, but it fits right into the agenda. These new tick-borne diseases that have emerged. And they're not just in Michigan and the Northeast anymore. This one, a Connecticut woman, has died from the rare tick-borne disease, Powassan virus. It's the first fatality recorded in the state, the second U.S. this year after the Maine resident died. According to the DPH, the patient was bitten by a tick and the insect was removed 2 weeks prior to the onset of symptoms. The woman, who was in her 90s, first exhibited symptoms in early May, including fever, chills, headache, altered mental state. It was like a zombie. She was admitted to a local hospital where her health rapidly deteriorated. Now, she was 90, but still, what's really going on here? Now, more concerning to people like me and many of you who live in the Midwest is this new emerging virus. Now, you probably haven't heard this on the news. They're not talking about this. You would think this would be front page news, right? This new Midwest tick-borne virus. You would think that everybody would be talking about it, especially as we come into tick season. It's like, protect yourself. But it's almost like they don't want to ring the alarm bells. There's a few stories out there, but have you guys heard of this? Heartland virus. Now, what could be the thing behind this? Well, the heartland, to me, after all my travels, is probably the promised land. It's the modern promised land of America. Here we are, full circle from the book of Exodus. And we already showed you how the middle America looks like Egypt in reverse. So you've got the delta of Egypt flowing up towards the Missouri River, out of the Mississippi River. And if you look at that in reverse, it looks like the Nile Delta of Egypt. And we plotted all of the cities of Egypt, Cairo, Memphis, and they matched up with the cities in Egypt and in the heartland in the Midwest. And as you travel south, you're leaving Egypt, the exodus out of the Pharaoh's control. It's happening now, you guys. It's happening now. So, here comes the Pharaoh with his plagues, the modern day plagues. The answer to the Most High, the Pharaoh trying to exhibit his plagues on God's people. And the heartland virus, I believe, is one of those plagues. Spreading through the Midwest and southern U.S. Now, I was just on my property a couple days ago. I took Max over there, and there was a couple of these ticks cruising around. I kicked one off of my pant leg, and we checked him to make sure he was okay. But this is brand new, you guys. This wasn't happening 10 years ago. If you look at the tick-borne illnesses map, historical maps, almost all the cases are up near Michigan and Connecticut and Wisconsin. The South never had a tick-borne illness problem. This is a brand new scenario. Now, we've also seen increase in tick-borne illnesses in places like California, which, again, never used to have that. This is a new phenomenon. Let's read about this. 2009, Dr. Scott Folk treated 2 patients in western Missouri who had fallen ill after getting bitten by ticks. Most tick-borne illnesses, from Lyme disease to Rocky Mountain spotted fever, share similar flu-like symptoms at their onset. Patients in Missouri experienced chills, fever, and headaches. Doctor thought they had this word, I don't know what that, a bacterial infection that is spread by common tick species in the area. The patients didn't get better after taking antibiotics, and a lab testing revealed that they had previously unseen viral infection. The new virus was called Heartland virus after Heartland Regional Medical Center, where the patients were diagnosed. In the 13 years since its discovery, more than 50 cases have been identified in people living in southern and midwestern U.S. So again, this is a much smaller scale, 50 cases, compared to all the cases we see up in like the Northeast and around Michigan and stuff. But still, it's something. Not much is known about the virus compared to other tick-borne diseases, but doctors and scientists working in the region are collecting ticks to learn more. This is not a pathogen that is going to take over the world, so there's no reason to panic at this point, says this guy. We as scientists are trying to do what we couldn't do with Vidco, which is to know it. See, they're linking it into Vidco. That tells you right there what's going on. So this is the Lone Star tick. Cases of heartland virus disease have been reported in Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina. So all these places. Spreads via the bite of a Lone Star tick, species widely distributed through the eastern U.S. But the tick is most common in the southeastern states, but it has spread westward and as far as Canada as temperatures have warmed. See, so they're going to blame it also on global warming, climate change. So it's got this white dot on its back. So the best thing you can do, always check yourself. I don't believe in the whole, spray yourself down with chemicals. There are some natural chemicals out there. Maybe you guys can share some of those in the chat when I go back in there. There's some natural ways to kind of repel some of these things, but never rest on your laurels. Now, the quickest way to pick up a tick is walking through tall grass. So anytime you walk through tall grass, make sure you check yourself before the thing bites you. Okay, you don't want to get bit by one of these. As soon as it bites you, it's like a ticking time bomb, pun intended. It's only a matter of time, minutes. Some people say minutes, some people say hours, but the longer that thing's on you, the more you could have a very high possibility of coming down with one of these illnesses. So just be careful and protect yourself. So that's the story on this. Now I promised you, let me check in with you guys, and I promised you that we would get into Bo jiving as well. Because, he's not immune to all this. He's going right along with the agenda and basically continuing to tear down and destroy America. Let's check in with Bo Jiven's electric economy. Here we are 2 years after the supply chain was broken, and it's still broken. Meanwhile, instead of fixing our port cranes, right, because they have cranes at the port, we insist on fixing everybody else's cranes. Your crane, his crane, her cranes, you crane. It's literally insanity, you guys. Supply chain crunch will persist and place upward pressure on already high inflation. Now, understand this is probably intentional. They don't want people building out in the unincorporated areas. Oh, you can still go on Amazon and order anything you want. It'll be at your house in 2 days. You can do that. They'll let you do that all you want. But if you need some wood or you need wiring to build a house, if you need, contractor, you can't find it, or the prices are highly inflated. I've never seen anything like it. So this is continuing on. Nothing was ever done. How are we spending billions of dollars in other countries when our country is broken? Now, this will make most people go, oh, see, it's Bo jiving. That means we need to vote for Thump. Well, he ain't going to fix the problem either, okay? And even if he does, it's going to come at a severe cost to your freedoms. But here we are, business as usual, and nothing is being fixed as we spend money around the world. Now, what else is going on with the Bo jiving? Well, there's still no solution to the electric grid gridlock when it comes to forcing you into the electric economy. Their answer is that, we just all have to feel a little pain and inconvenience till the infrastructure is complete. Then things will go smoothly. So, just wait in line for 45 minutes or an hour while you charge up your car on a 4-day trip, which takes you 12 days instead of 4 days. And that many more hotels you need to stay in. You see what's going on here? Now, they still have no answer as to where all this electricity is going to come from. They have no answer. Yet they push and they push even as the summer rolling blackouts are looming. Because we all know it's coming. They're telling us that the lakes are so low that it's not going to be able to generate electricity. They're going to have rolling blackouts. But at the same time, they're trying to force us all into electric vehicles. This makes absolutely no sense. It's just more insanity. Let's read about this lady's trip. What happened to her on her road trip with her electric car? A missed reservation and long charging times. Woman's 4-day road trip shows the difficulty of taking an electric vehicle across the country. Now, we were just talking about this, weren't we? How they want us basically locked down into our individual little areas. They basically want you within 100 miles of where you live. They don't want you talking to other people from other states. They don't want you visiting or with them or seeing how other people live. They are locking everything down. And the best way to do that is an electric vehicle with a range that you can only go so far away from home base without having major inconveniences and major costs. Reporter Rachel Wolf's 2,000-mile EV road trip turned into a stressful experience. I can imagine. She said in the story for the Wall Street Journal, the car spent more time charging than she did sleeping. Wolf's story highlights an advantage Tesla drivers have over other EV owners. Well, Tesla's not going to solve the problem either. Electric cars may not be the best option for road trips quite yet. Really? Unless you want to spend and want to risk spending hours stuck at a charging station. This lady took a Kia EV6 on a 4-day road trip and said the car spent more time charging than she did sleeping. During the 2,000-mile road trip between New Orleans and Chicago, she struggled to find fast chargers, spent much of the trip waiting for the car to recharge. She said that while there appeared to be a multitude of chargers along the route, she quickly discovered that not all chargers are created equally. She said the trip to Chicago, which was supposed to take about 7.5 hours, took 12, almost double the time, you guys. Now, I have friends that swear by these electric vehicles. They're like, these are so great. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Now, if you want to make a statement about the environment and you're willing to forego convenience just so you can make a statement, that's one thing. But to try to convince the world that we should all be in electric vehicles and that they're going to force this down the line and make gas go extinct, that's a whole nother thing. She waited 3 hours for a 30-mile charge. And there were times where her car's battery ticked down at an alarming rate. On her way home, Wolf said her car wasn't able to make it more than 200 miles on a single charge amid a tornado warning, despite an advertising range of up to 310 miles. So, very, very inconvenient. Now, if they really, really, really wanted people to get in electric vehicles, don't you think there would be a lot more incentives than there are now? Don't you think that they could, maybe do away with your, registration fees for the car? Just do away with it. Maybe a huge tax write-off. But they're not even doing that. They're just pushing and trying to get you to buy one of these things, and then you're hosed. You're sitting there with basically a liability. Let's keep reading here. To save power, we turn off the car's cooling system. So they're just sitting in the car baking in the middle of summer. And the radio. Unplug our phones and lower the windshield wipers to the lowest possible setting while still being able to see. 3 miles away from the station, we have 1 mile of estimated range. Tim Levin previously reported a similar experience during a road trip to Vermont last year when the battery of his Mustang plunged rapidly in an environment where he had little access to charging infrastructure. Though Levin ultimately said the experience did little to dampen his interest in buying an EV. Really? Of course he's paid to say that, right? In contrast, Wolf said the experience made her thankful for her gas-powered Volkswagen Jetta. Said a lack of efficient charging infrastructure caused her and a passenger to miss a dinner reservation and led to a nail-biting return trip that left them with only 4 hours of sleep in their haste to return home on time. Skyrocketing gas prices have made EVs even more attractive, but Wolf, she paid for the $100 she saved by avoiding gas pumps with wasted time lingering at charging stations. Now, this creates a security concern, doesn't it? You're sitting in the middle of a place you don't know, waiting around at a charging station, and you're not going to just leave your vehicle there unattended. You want to watch it. Criminals know this, don't they? You become a target at that point. You're sitting duck. They know exactly what you're doing there. They know exactly how long you're going to be there. And so I'm sure there are stories that are not reported by the national news about people sitting at charging stations becoming victims of crime of some kind. Now, someone made a funny comment in our last show, and they're like, you never hear about these electric cars being stolen, do you? Now, I'm sure there's reasons for that. I think these cars have GPS on them, and they're tied into the grid, and so, pretty much you're going to get caught if you try to steal one of these. But isn't it interesting that criminals don't really want these? I think it's kind of funny myself. Now, after all the years of all the climate change extortion that we've suffered over the last several decades, all of a sudden, Bo Jiven says he's going to put all that on hold in the name of democracy. Sometimes I think back about my old belief system, the person I was before I was awake to all this stuff, and I wonder to myself, how could I have been so stupid To think that voting for people is going to change anything in this world? To believe that billionaires could have our best interest at heart? They don't. They're part of the agenda. So Bo Jiven has now pretty much given up his climate agenda on every front. And they're saying, oh, it's because we have to help the grain. We have to oppose Pute Stain. On Monday, fending off what threatened to be a crippling blow to the growth in rooftop solar energy industry, Bo Jiven announced a set of executive actions intended to protect the industry. That, if it is successfully challenged in court, may be the modest success in Bo Jiven's efforts to transition the U.S. economy into one that runs on clean energy. But such successes have been fewer than what environmentalists had hoped for. Despite assuming office with what activists describe as the most ambitious climate change agenda in history, Bo Jiven has experienced a series of setbacks that threaten to leave him with little progress on the issue, showing just how hard contending with climate change can be in a choke point-filled federal system. The president is facing backsliding on almost every front in his fight against climate change. His clean energy proposals are stuck in the Senate. Surging oil and gas prices have even Democrat state governments cutting gas taxes. And the need to wean America's European allies off Russian fossil fuels has led to the administration to propose boosting gas exports. Now, when we give excuses as to why we don't want to go with clean energy, they don't listen to us, do they? Oh, screw you guys. We're the ones living through this, right? We're the ones being forced, and our businesses being changed, and our whole world and our lives being changed because of stuff they're pushing down on us, right? So when we complain about it, oh, we're not going to listen to you. But then when they decide, oh, we got to back off this for a minute, then all of a sudden they can make that happen, can't they? It's just so enraging how we're treated like little children. And we're supposed to be the ones running this country. It's supposed to be the power of the people, right? But only when they decide. You know, growing up, I remember begging my mom for something or my dad for something. And I'm like, nope. And then all of a sudden one day they decided they wanted to do it, or I'd see them doing the exact same thing I'm asking to do. And it just puts a bad taste in your mouth, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening here. Let's go into the chat for a bit and do a little Q&A. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so that's a Between the Headlines show. I know some of you guys enjoy those shows better than the decodes. Like I said, I've got a lot of stuff on deck for decodes, but some of this stuff I'm kind of waiting on. It hasn't published yet. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you've been watching that. The Man Who Fell to Earth, Stranger Things, of course, and Westworld. So those are all on deck in the coming weeks and months. Let's see what you guys are doing here. The snake wriggles somewhere. I couldn't read that. Abraham Lincoln is Abraham from the Bible. They clean up. There's always a dark side version, isn't there? All right. Hello, Anne. Thanks for coming. Jen's freedom fight. Since the power of the government first in this scenario. Thanks, Betty. Good morning, Brit's Bit. Oh yeah, Star Drive. Now, Star Drive had a pretty amazing discovery. He's like, Casey, your phone number is published on your Facebook. I'm like, oh no. So he called me. I was like, so I took it down. I'm new to Facebook in terms of a personal account, but Star Drive made an amazing discovery. He took Thump's birthday and it's 33 times 133 times 140. So that was a pretty amazing discovery. Lots of 33 surrounding all these people. So thanks, Star Drive, for letting me know that. Yeah, everybody thumbs up the video, please. Thanks. All right. Now, YouTube loves to unsubscribe people from the channel. So please check back every morning. We pretty much go live at the same exact time. I do that on purpose so that there's a pattern, because when YouTube unsubscribes you, you'll have a mental check. You'll go, oh, wait, there's something I should be doing this morning. And you'll remember to check back. We've been stuck at 107,000 subscribers for like 6 months now. And every time we get some, YouTube unsubscribes a bunch more. So obviously that's a plan to cap us at a certain level, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. What you guys can do to counter that is just continue to share these videos. Make sure you check in. Make sure that you have everything, up to speed. See, so many of you have been unsubbed several times, so it's happening. It's real. They just unsub you guys. So, they can do what they do, but we have to counter that. We've also, gotten a lot of endorsements from Now You See TV, which typically when that happens, the channel will grow 1,000 subscribers in a week or two. And that's just not happening. And that tells you they're just unsubscribing people left and right. I've also seen a turnover with the subscribers. Like every 2 or 3 months, it's almost like a whole new set of subscribers. That's because they keep unsubbing the people. It's really disheartening, but we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And you guys just keep doing what you're doing. So, all right. What else do we have here? All right. Thanks, April. April says it's her church on Sundays. We're not always here on Sundays, but, every day's church here, right? Okay. So many of you, Christine's been unsubscribed. Yeah, many of you have to just check every day. Now, if we weren't doing videos on a consistent basis, a lot of people would just forget. Or let's say we were only doing 1 or 2 videos a week. Their unsubscribe tactic would work. The channel would probably wither away. So we stay on it. Sometimes we don't even have a lot to report, but just getting together is a place that we can all get together and remember and stay on track and stay on course, right? Thanks, y'all's daughter. Thanks, Arthur. Yeah, so David and I had a really great time yesterday. It was a lot of fun. He's got this pontoon boat. We were cruising across the lake. I was like, man, this thing actually goes pretty fast. And we caught one lone bluegill on a night crawler. And I was like, well, let's try to use him for bait. I don't know if that's... So this is where you get into, the logistics of everything. Now, the ferry ride was really cool because we were I was by myself, was putting along over this ferry. It was really pleasant, serene feeling, so that was a lot of fun. And everyone's just at a different speed here. There's not all the drama and the money grubbing and people stepping all over all of each other. Nothing's really ever too crowded. And here we are in summer. You'd think this lake would be going nuts. I remember the lakes in California when I was growing up. I just stopped going to do things because I hate crowds. I hate thousands and thousands of people at a fair. I hate lines. I hate fighting people. I hate fighting traffic. And I was just like, this is just not my thing anymore. So Joy asks, what breed was that fish in the fish picture? Well, that was a Pacific red rockfish or rock cod. And that picture is actually, I think, about 10 years old. That's a 10-year-old picture. And it's me holding up a big red fish. And that was actually a charter boat that I went out on. And in California, I don't know if it's still like this, but you take a charter boat out if you can brave the seasickness. And you go out into about 150 feet of water, and you drop a piece of squid down to the bottom, and you can pull up rockfish all day long. Now, the limit's like 10, and you can also keep like 2, what are they called? Gosh, I'm forgetting what the names now. But they come in all different colors. They're very beautiful fish. Most of them are like brownish black, but then some of them are bright red, like that one. I think a lot of you thought that fish was a red snapper, but no, that's not the case. Now, the interesting thing about the East Coast fishing versus the West Coast fishing is that the East Coast fish have lots of teeth. Even the striper had some gnarly, like weird, sharp stuff that pretty much messed up my thumb pretty good. But the bluefish they'll literally snap your finger off. And the same goes for fish down in Florida. They're called snappers for a reason, because they can actually draw blood. They can actually bite you, and they actually snap really fast. And their mouths almost telescope out. So even if you think you're at a safe distance trying to pull the hook out, they can literally bite you. So it's different in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the rockfish don't have teeth. There's one that does, and that's the big one. And you just got to grab him behind the gills. They have gnarly teeth. Why can't I think of the name of that fish? Oh, I can't remember it. But it's a big, long fish. It looks like a snake, actually. Kind of weird. So, Max and I had a snake sighting at the property a couple days ago when I took him over there. He's like, Dad, this is really cool. We hiked down to the creek, hiked back up. I was sweating and out of breath. And we look over, and a snake slithers underneath the shed. And I was like, whoa, this thing was massive. I'd never seen a snake that big. It looked like it came out of a snake pit or something. Now, weirdly, when I was younger, I would have this reoccurring dream of snakes under the house, but not just one or two, like thousands of snakes under a house. I'm like, oh my goodness. Usually when I have dreams like this, they come true somehow. Now I reported it. I called up the contractor. I said, dude, there's a giant snake and it slithered right under the house. And he's like, well, he goes, leave it alone. He goes, it's probably a rat snake, I think they call them. And he goes, if you leave it there, then it'll scare away the poisonous snakes because it's occupying the same space. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about a snake under my house. That's weird. So that's the story. There are snakes in Arkansas. So what do you guys, any of you guys live in Arkansas know about black snakes? How do you know if they're poisonous or not? I think it was a rat snake. Now I know some of you keep your spiders. I can't do that. I cannot live with a spider. And I probably won't rescue it and put it outside because it'll find a way back in. But I know some of you are very sensitive about killing anything. Rat snakes are huge. They are here in Ohio, says Garden Girl. Yeah. Rat snakes are black and huge. Yeah, this thing, yeah, it must have been what it was. I'm like, where did it come from? I think it was out sunning and we didn't even see it and walked up on it, and that's when it slithered off. All right. My eldest has a pet snake. Now, you think about it. If I were ever to have a chicken coop, that snake would scare away the mice and rats, wouldn't it? So that'd be a good thing. But then the snake would like reproduce and you would have a bunch of snakes. So, you know, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Black snakes are very docile and not poisonous. You could pick one up. Yeah, my contractor sent me a picture of his son picking up a 6-foot long black snake. I was like, what? So, talking about snakes, right? You know, Abraham Lincoln had the Anaconda Plan, and it was his plan to blockade the South. And there was a big picture of a big black snake surrounding the South. I mean, who does that? Snakes will eat your eggs, says Christine. Okay, so that plan's not going to work. And they can slither into really tiny places, can't they? Probably get right through the chicken wire. All right. Redeemed is like, get rid of it. Red snakes, huh? Now, I noticed something really interesting about Arkansas and kind of cool, that there's this red tint to nature that I never saw in California. They're like really, really, really red birds. and even the turtles have like red markings on them, and the hornets are very red looking. I was like, that's kind of weird. But there's a lot of iron in the soil here. So the soil is really bright red. It looks actually kind of cool. I don't think it's the best to grow in, but it is really cool looking when you see cutaways of the soil here. Red cardinals. Yeah, it must have been a cardinal. Yeah. Yeah, like red clay. Yeah, that's what it is. It's very clay-like. Like you could pull it out of the ground and like make a bowl with it or something. So, all right, you guys. Well, I'm going to get back into it. I'm glad we all got to show up and hang out today. We'll probably have a show tomorrow. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do yet, but I'll put links to everything we covered today in the pinned comment for you guys. Some of you guys like to go in and look at some of these links and stories and read further into it. And then, you leave comments, and then that gives me guidance to where to go next on some of these topics. So I love each and every one of you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. God bless you. Take care and be safe.